When you meet the one sent to you and approved to be your spouse, the first thing you'll experience is something that feels almost out of your control: God's perfect timing. We live in a world where we are conditioned to rush everything: our careers, our goals, and even relationships. We want it all now, but when it comes to matters of the heart, when it comes to that person God has destined for you, his timing is flawless. And it will happen when he knows it's right. Not a moment too soon, and certainly not too late. Think about it. When you look back at your life, the paths you've walked, the people you've met, and the lessons you've learned, you realize there was a purpose behind it all. Every heartache, every challenge, every single step was not wasted. It was preparation. Preparation for the moment when God brings you face to face with the one he has specifically chosen for you. There is a divine orchestration happening, even when we don't see it or understand it. You may have been waiting, praying, and hoping, but trust me, God has been at work in the background, setting the stage for the right time. There is something profoundly powerful about the realization that God is never in a hurry, and yet he's never late. We are often in a rush to meet the love of our lives, to check that box, to complete the equation. But what if the most important thing we need to do is wait and trust? Trust in God's timing, because in that waiting, he's refining us. He's preparing our hearts to receive the love we've prayed for and to give that love back in a way that's full and true. The person he has for us is not an accident. The relationship is not a coincidence. It is a divine appointment, and it will arrive exactly when we're ready for it. Now, I know what you're thinking. What does that look like in real life? How do I trust God's timing when everything around me seems like it's moving so fast? It's easy to get caught up in the noise of the world. It's easy to feel like everyone around you is finding their partner, getting married, or moving forward, while you're stuck in a place of waiting. But let me remind you of something. It's not about the destination, it's about the journey. God's timing is about molding and shaping you into the person you need to be before he aligns you with the right person. And sometimes that means stepping back and allowing yourself to be guided, not rushing ahead of his plan. It's no different than when we work on our careers or personal growth. Think about the times you've had to invest in your skills, your education, or your character before you could step into a higher level. You wouldn't rush the process because you know that growth takes time. The same is true in relationships. When the time comes for you to meet the one God has for you, it won't just be a meeting of two people. It will be a coming together of two people who are both equipped, ready, and in sync with God's calling. And here's where it gets interesting. Sometimes God's perfect timing will look nothing like what we imagined. You may have envisioned meeting your spouse in a certain way at a certain time, but God's plan is always bigger, always greater, and more expansive than our limited vision. It could come in a moment of unexpected circumstances, through a friend, or in a place you least expect. But the key here is understanding that when God reveals that person to you, it will feel right in a way that goes beyond your own understanding. You see, God doesn't work on our timeline. He doesn't operate on a schedule. He's not bound by deadlines, the ticking of a clock, or the seasons of life. And when you meet the one he has chosen for you, there will be an overwhelming sense of peace that confirms that the timing is exactly what it was meant to be. It may not make sense in the moment, and it might stretch your faith, but there will be a knowing deep within that says, this is it. This is the one I've been waiting for. So instead of rushing to make something happen, the call to you today is to embrace the process of waiting. Trust in God's timing, because it is never off. When you meet that person, it will be the result of a perfect alignment of circumstances that only God could orchestrate. Until then, focus on becoming the best version of yourself, continue growing in your faith, and trust that when the time comes, it will be clear, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that you are right where you need to be. God's timing will never fail you. If you can trust that, you will find peace even in the waiting. And when the time comes for you to meet that person, it won't be just another moment. It will be a moment that changes everything. A moment that confirms that everything you've been through, every step you've taken, has led you to the moment when God says, now it's time. The key is simple. Trust his timing. It's always right. This powerful realization of trusting God's timing can be the foundation for moving forward with faith. knowing that the right person will come into your life at exactly the right time. Don't rush the process, embrace it. God's plan is bigger than anything we could ever imagine, and His timing will always be perfect. When you meet the one God has sent to be your spouse, something extraordinary happens. There's a clarity of purpose that comes into focus, one that goes far beyond just the excitement of a new relationship. You see, when God brings two people together, it's not just about companionship or shared experiences. It's about a higher calling, a greater mission that transcends both of you. You start to realize that this relationship is not just for you, it's for a purpose much bigger than anything you could have imagined on your own. For too long, we've been conditioned to think about relationships in terms of personal gain. We look for someone who will make us happy, who will fill the void, or who will meet our needs. But when God is involved, when He brings the right person into your life, there's an immediate shift in perspective. You begin to see the relationship through a lens of purpose. It's not just about the me, it's about the we. Together, you are both called to something greater, to walk side by side, to build something lasting, to contribute to the world in ways you never could have done on your own. This is not about perfection or getting everything right from the start. God doesn't call us to perfection. He calls us to faithfulness, to trust Him with our lives, and to be open to the journey He has planned for us. The purpose that emerges in a God-ordained relationship is one that will constantly evolve. It's not static, it's dynamic. As you grow together, as you face life's challenges, you will discover new layers of purpose, new ways to serve each other, and new opportunities to make a difference in the world. Let me give you a practical example. When I think about some of the most successful relationships, whether in marriage or in partnership, I see people who are on the same mission. They understand that the union they've formed is not just about their personal happiness. It's about how they can help others, how they can make an impact, and how they can contribute to God's greater plan. This purpose doesn't always show up in grand gestures, but in the small moments, the quiet decisions, the way they lift each other up and push each other to be better. When you meet the one God has chosen for you, you'll experience this deep sense of clarity about why the relationship exists. It won't just feel like a random encounter or a twist of fate. You'll sense a divine connection, a knowing that this person is not just here to be with you, but to walk with you on a journey that will require both of you to dig deeper, reach higher, and give more. There's a purpose that will unfold over time, one that will challenge both of you to grow spiritually, emotionally, and intellectually. It's a purpose that asks you to work together towards something bigger than yourselves. This kind of clarity doesn't come from anything you can plan or control. It comes from trust. Trusting that the relationship you're stepping into is not just about building a life together, it's about fulfilling God's purpose for your lives. It's not about seeking perfection in each other, but about seeking God's will together, knowing that when you're aligned with His plan, everything else falls into place. Then, I know it can be hard to imagine this kind of clarity if you've experienced confusion or uncertainty in past relationships. We all carry baggage, emotional scars, and wounds from the past. But when God sends the one He has for you, He will give you a vision for the future, a vision that can heal and restore what was once broken. And that vision will be crystal clear. You'll know deep in your heart that you're not just meant to be together, you're meant to build something that will have an impact. Together, you'll become a force for good in the world. This kind of relationship is about partnership, true partnership. It's about two people supporting each other's dreams, goals, and ambitions, while also lifting each other up spiritually. A clear purpose doesn't just give you direction, it gives you the strength to persevere through the challenges that will inevitably come. You'll face obstacles, misunderstandings, and setbacks, but because you have a shared purpose, those challenges will become stepping stones, not roadblocks. So when you meet the person God has for you, don't just focus on the feelings, the butterflies, or the excitement. Recognize that God is revealing something far deeper, a partnership that's meant to fulfill a greater purpose. Understand that this relationship is not about what you can get from each other, but what you can give. And the clarity of purpose you'll feel in this relationship will not only guide you in your journey together, but will also inspire those around you. Your love will become a testimony of what happens when two people align themselves with God's plan, when they allow themselves to be vessels for something greater. It's not just about the two of you. It's about the ripple effect you will create, the lives you will touch, and the legacy you will leave. So, as you move forward, remember this. When God sends you the one he has chosen, he is giving you not just a partner, but a co-laborer in the work he has for you both. Embrace that purpose, walk in it with confidence, and know that God will reveal it to you in his perfect time. When you live in alignment with that divine purpose, everything else will fall into place. Purpose is the foundation of a God-ordained relationship. It gives you the clarity, strength, and vision to face whatever comes your way. And when you find that, you'll find that you've been given something far greater than just a relationship. You've been given a mission, a calling, a partnership for life. This is what happens when you meet the one God has sent for you. And trust me, that clarity of purpose will change everything. When you meet the one God has sent into your life, one of the first things you'll feel is something that's almost indescribable, a deep spiritual peace. It's not the kind of peace that comes from external circumstances or from trying to make things work. No, it's a peace that surpasses understanding, a peace that can only come when you align yourself with God's will. You know, as I stand here today, I've seen this truth play out in my own life and in the lives of countless others. There is a spiritual peace that settles in your heart when the right person enters your life. And it's not a peace that comes from your own effort, but from God's approval. This peace is powerful. It's the kind of peace that makes everything else fade away, that silences the doubts and fears that can cloud your judgment. It's the confirmation that this person, this relationship, is exactly where God wants you to be. You've heard the saying, when it's right, it feels right. Well, that feeling of rightness is not just a mere coincidence. It's the peace that God gives you when he reveals his plan for your life. It's a knowing deep in your spirit that says, this is the person I've been waiting for, and I'm walking in the direction God has set for me. But here's the thing. This peace isn't always loud or dramatic. It doesn't necessarily come with a flash of light or a booming voice from the heavens. No, sometimes it's a quiet, steady calm that settles in your heart. It's a reassurance that no matter what challenges may come, no matter how uncertain things may seem, you are exactly where you need to be. It's a peace that lets you know that God is in control, that he has ordained this moment, and that you don't have to fear the unknown. Now, I know there are times in life when we can all get caught up in the noise, the opinions of others, the pressure to make things work, the fear of making the wrong choice. But let me tell you something. God's peace is not subject to the chaos of the world around you. It's something that transcends the external and speaks directly to your heart. And when that peace enters your relationship, it becomes a guiding light. It becomes the foundation on which you build your trust, your commitment, and your love. Think about it. When you're in a relationship that is meant to be, you don't feel the need to fight for control or manipulate outcomes. You don't feel the pressure to prove yourself or to convince the other person that this is the right thing. Instead, there's a sense of ease, a flow that happens when you both trust in God's timing and purpose. You're not forcing the relationship, you're allowing it to unfold naturally, because you both sense that this is where God has led you. You can't manufacture peace like that. It comes from God, and it's a sign that you're walking in alignment with his plan. But it's not just a personal peace you feel, there's also a relational peace that emerges. You know, it's easy to think that a great relationship is all about passion, chemistry, and fireworks. And while those things are important, the true strength of a relationship comes from the peace that both people bring to it. It's the peace that allows you to communicate openly, to work through challenges with grace, and to forgive one another when mistakes are made. The empathetic attitude, the presence of mindfulness and care, and the compassion, it's the peace that gives you the patience to listen, the wisdom to understand, and the humility to admit when you're wrong. And let me tell you, this kind of peace isn't always easy to find. We live in a world that thrives on conflict, on noise, on division. But the peace that God offers in a relationship is something entirely different. It's a peace that doesn't make sense to the world. It doesn't rely on logic or reason. It's a supernatural peace that comes from a place of faith, from knowing that God is in control, and that He has a plan for you and your partner. When you experience that peace, it's like the fog lifts. The confusion dissipates. You're no longer second-guessing yourself, wondering if this is the right person, if this is the right time. Instead, you're walking with confidence, knowing that you're in the center of God's will. And that peace, it's contagious. It spreads between the two of you, creating a bond that is stronger than any challenge that may come your way. So if you find yourself in a relationship and you're wondering if this is the person God has sent to you, I encourage you to look for that peace. It's the peace that brings comfort even in the midst of uncertainty. It's the peace that confirms God's approval. It's the peace that makes you realize that this is the right relationship. Not because everything is perfect, but because you're both aligned with God's purpose for your lives. You won't always have all the answers. There will be times when you'll still have to step out in faith, times when the path may seem unclear, but that peace, that divine peace, will keep you grounded, will keep you moving forward with confidence. And when you experience it, you'll know that you're walking in the fullness of God's plan. In closing, the peace that God gives in a relationship is not a fleeting feeling. It's a steady assurance that you are where you need to be. It's a peace that transcends all understanding and guides you both toward a future that is rooted in His love and purpose. And when you experience that peace, you can walk forward in full confidence, knowing that this is the relationship God has ordained for you, and it is built on a foundation that will never fail. So, trust in that peace and let it guide you through every moment of your journey together. When you do, you'll find that peace is not just a feeling, it's a promise that God is with you, leading you, and approving of the path you're on. When you meet the one God has chosen for you, there's something you must understand from the very start. Even though this person is exactly who you've been waiting for, the relationship will not be without its challenges. In fact, the very fact that this is a relationship ordained by God means that it will test your faith in ways you may not expect. But let me tell you, those challenges are not signs that you're on the wrong path. They are, in fact, a confirmation that you are exactly where God wants you to be. You see, faith isn't about smooth sailing, it's about trust. Trust that God knows exactly what He's doing, even when the waters get rough. When you walk into a God-ordained relationship, you'll face difficulties that will challenge not only your patience and your endurance, but also your trust in God's bigger plan, and that's okay. It's part of the journey. It's the refinement process. It's how God strengthens the bond between you and your spouse and prepares you for the future He has in mind. Life is unpredictable. People are unpredictable. You'll have disagreements. You'll make mistakes. You'll experience misunderstandings, and you'll get frustrated. It happens in every relationship. But here's the thing. When the right person enters your life, you won't be fighting to keep the relationship together. You'll be fighting to understand, to grow, to improve, and to stay aligned with God's will. And that fight will be worth it because on the other side of those struggles is a deeper, stronger, more resilient connection that nothing can break. I think about how we all grow as individuals. It doesn't happen in a vacuum. It happens when we're pushed out of our comfort zones, when we face challenges that force us to level up. And relationships are no different. When you're with someone who is sent by God, you'll realize that they are not there to complete you in the sense that you're broken without them. No, they're there to complement you, to sharpen you, to help you grow into the person God intended you to be. And sometimes growth involves some discomfort. It's about pushing through the tough times, holding on to each other when the world is pulling you apart, and learning from the difficulties that come your way. And that's the key here. You're not in this alone. God is right there with you, guiding you through every challenge. But He will allow you to face difficult situations because He wants you to grow. He wants you to build resilience, patience, and trust. He wants to refine both of you so that when you come through the storm, you will be stronger and more unified than ever before. The challenges you face will not break you. They will forge something even stronger. What I've learned in my own life is that faith isn't about waiting for everything to go right. It's about trusting that even when things go wrong, God is still in control. And when you enter a relationship that has been sent and approved by God, you'll be tested in ways that force you to rely on His strength, not your own. You'll be forced to remember that your partner is not your enemy, but a teammate, someone with whom you're supposed to navigate life together. The struggles will teach you to communicate better, to forgive more easily, and to grow deeper in your faith. Here's the reality. The best relationships aren't the ones where there's never a disagreement or a moment of doubt. The best relationships are the ones where you fight for each other, where you work together to overcome obstacles, and where you come out on the other side stronger than before. When you're in a relationship with the right person, the challenges you face are opportunities to grow, not signs that you're on the wrong path. The way you respond to those challenges, your ability to lean on God and trust His guidance, will determine the strength and longevity of the relationship. So, don't let the hard moments discourage you. Don't let the disagreements or tough times shake your faith. When you face those challenges, remember that they are part of God's plan for you and your spouse. They are refining you, helping you to grow, and preparing you for the future that God has in store. The beauty of a God-approved relationship is that it's not about avoiding the struggles. It's about facing them together, with faith, with trust, and with a commitment to each other that doesn't waver in the hard times. You'll learn how to pray together, how to support each other in ways you never thought possible, and how to lean on God when it seems like everything else is falling apart. And through it all, your faith will grow deeper, your love will become more enduring, and your bond will be unbreakable. I know it's easy to get discouraged when things aren't going smoothly. We all want the fairy tale, the happily ever after with no bumps along the way, but let me tell you, the greatest relationships aren't the ones that avoid challenges. They are the ones that endure them with God's help and come out stronger because of them. So the next time you face a challenge in your relationship, remember this. It's not a sign that you're on the wrong path. It's a sign that God is refining you, strengthening you, and preparing you for the future He has planned. Trust Him, lean on Him, and together with your partner, you will overcome whatever comes your way. The greatest test of faith is not in avoiding difficulties, but in trusting God through them. The challenge is part of the blessing. Keep the faith and let God guide you through the storm. When you come out the other side, you'll be stronger than ever before. When you meet the one God has sent to be your spouse, there's something incredibly profound that happens within your spirit. It's a sense of peace, of knowing that this person is more than just a partner. They are a divine match, handpicked by God, and your union is part of His greater purpose. That divine approval is something powerful, but it doesn't come without its weight. Because the approval of God means something. It's not just a blessing, it's a responsibility. It's the call to steward this relationship well, to protect it, to nurture it, and to walk in it with purpose. Too often we get caught up in the emotions of love, the excitement, and the rush of finding someone who truly sees us and accepts us. But let me tell you, love is much deeper than emotion. It's rooted in divine purpose. When God approves a relationship, it's not about what we can get from it. It's about what we're called to give and how we are called to serve. It's about understanding that the blessing of love and partnership is not just for us. It's for something greater than ourselves. God's approval in your relationship means He's entrusted you with something sacred. You're not just building a life together, you're building a legacy. When you understand that, when you internalize that truth, everything changes. Your relationship moves from being something that's just about you two to something that impacts your community, your family, and even the world around you. The love between you and your spouse becomes a light, a beacon of hope and strength. You are called to do something powerful with that love, something that extends beyond the walls of your home into the lives of those around you. But here's the thing, that divine approval doesn't mean the road will always be easy. Far from it. There will be obstacles, setbacks, and moments when you question why things are so hard. But I want you to understand that those challenges are not signs of failure. They are part of God's plan to strengthen you, to deepen your love, and to teach you to lean into Him. He's approved this relationship, but that doesn't mean He's giving you a free pass. Fortunately, it means He's going to walk with you through every storm, every trial, and every high and low. I think about how we face the difficulties of life. It's easy to get discouraged when things aren't going as we envisioned. We face those moments when our faith is tested, when we wonder why it seems so difficult to make things work. But that's when we need to remember that God's approval is not about a life free of struggles. It's about a life lived with His presence, His strength, and His guidance. In the moments of struggle, it's important to remember the divine purpose that's been placed within the relationship. That purpose will anchor you. It will remind you that there's more at play here than just the two of you. God's hand is in it, and He's guiding your steps. You're building something with eternal value. The way you handle your disagreements, the way you choose to show up for one another in tough times, the way you forgive and grow, that's all part of the divine purpose at work. Every challenge becomes an opportunity for both of you to align yourselves more closely with God's will and to grow together as individuals and as a couple. But there's another piece of this too. Divine approval also means that you must walk with intention. You can't take this gift lightly. God has approved this union for a reason, and you must approach it with the seriousness and the respect it deserves. That means investing in it, protecting it, and putting in the effort to make it thrive. Don't take your spouse for granted. Don't settle for a relationship that's just getting by. God didn't approve this relationship so you could live an ordinary life. He approved it because He has extraordinary plans for you, your spouse, and the legacy you will build together. So, what does that look like in practice? It looks like showing up every day with a heart of gratitude. It looks like choosing to love even when it's hard, even when you're tired, even when you're frustrated. It means being patient, being forgiving, and constantly striving to be the best version of yourself, not for your spouse, but for God. Because when you honor your spouse, you are ultimate. And when you honor God in your relationship, He will bless it abundantly. This isn't about perfection, it's about progress. It's about stepping forward each day, trusting that God's hand is on your relationship and doing your best to walk in His will. When you do that, you will experience a depth of love and fulfillment that goes beyond anything you could imagine. When you recognize God's approval on your relationship, it becomes more than just a romantic connection. It becomes a mission. It becomes an opportunity to reflect His love, His grace, and His purpose in the world. You and your spouse are called to be a living example of what God's love looks like. And that love isn't just for you two. It's meant to spill over into your community, your church, and the world. It's a love that's meant to inspire others, to encourage them to believe in the possibility of God's perfect plan for their own lives. So, as you walk in the divine approval of your relationship, remember this: you are not just building a life together, you are building a legacy. You are walking in God's purpose for your marriage, and that means every choice you make, every action you take, is a reflection of His glory. Don't take that lightly. Embrace the responsibility with gratitude, knowing that this love, this relationship, is a gift, and it's meant to be shared with the world. Divine approval isn't just about being chosen. It's about being entrusted with something sacred. Honor it, protect it, nurture it, and know that when you walk in God's will for your relationship, you are creating something eternal. When you meet the one God has sent to be your spouse, there's an undeniable shift that occurs, not just in your heart, but in your entire life. You've spent years dreaming, praying, hoping for that moment when your path intersects with someone who not only compliments you, but strengthens you, challenges you, and helps you grow into the person God always intended for you to be. But here's where the real test comes: when God shows you who the one is. He's not just showing you a partner for life. He's showing you a mirror, a reflection of your own soul, a person who will push you, stretch you, and encourage you to become better than you were before. When you recognize the one God has sent to be your spouse, it becomes clear that this relationship is not just about the good times and the shared happiness. It's about transformation. It's about becoming more than you were before, more than you could ever imagined, and more than you thought you were capable of. It's a journey that requires vulnerability, humility, and an openness to change. Because when God brings the right person into your life, He's setting you up for growth. Now, growth isn't always comfortable. As we all know, real growth doesn't come from staying in the same place, doing the same things over and over again. It requires stepping outside of your comfort zone, facing challenges, and sometimes confronting your own flaws. And that's exactly what happens when you meet the one who's been sent to be your spouse. They hold up a mirror to your weaknesses, to your fears, to your insecurities, and they challenge you to face them head on. They help you see who you really are, the good and the bad, and in doing so, they force you to step into the fullness of who God created you to be. But here's the thing, this isn't about perfection. None of us are perfect. We all have flaws, we all have baggage, we all have areas in our lives where we fall short. But the beauty of the one God has sent is that they don't come into your life to fix you, they come into your life to grow with you. They're not there to complete you, but to complement you. Together, you learn, you evolve, and you become the best version of yourselves. It's a partnership built on mutual respect, trust, and a shared commitment to each other's growth. And in this journey of growth, there's something important that often gets overlooked: the role of faith. Faith is what keeps you grounded when the challenges of life come crashing in. Faith is what helps you to trust that even when things seem uncertain or difficult, God is still at work. And faith is what allows you to believe in the potential of your spouse, even when they don't see it themselves. When you meet the one God has sent to be your spouse, you're not just building a relationship, you're building a life rooted in faith. You're walking together, hand in hand, trusting that God's plan for you both will unfold exactly as it's meant to. But here's the challenge. It's easy to trust when things are going well, when everything feels like it's falling into place. The true test of faith comes when things aren't going according to plan. When you're faced with adversity, when your spouse is struggling, when your relationship is tested, those are the moments when you need to dig deep, to remember that the journey you're on is one of growth, and that growth often comes through challenges. It's in those difficult moments that you have the opportunity to demonstrate the kind of love and support that God has called you to. It's in those moments that you learn how to love selflessly, how to forgive quickly, and how to support each other through thick and thin. And when you're both committed to this journey of growth, you begin to see something beautiful unfold: the transformation of both individuals into a stronger, more unified couple. Your relationship becomes a reflection of God's love, His grace, and His mercy. It becomes a testimony of what happens when two people come together, not just to be happy, but to become the people they were always meant to be. You begin to see that this relationship isn't just about the two of you. It's about the impact you're meant to have on the world around you. It's about the legacy you're building, the lives you're touching, and the example you're setting for others. When you embrace the transformative power of a God-approved relationship, you come to realize that this is not just a partnership, it's a calling. You're not simply in this for yourself, but for something greater than yourselves. And as you grow together, you're also growing closer to God. You're learning to trust Him more deeply, to lean on Him more fully, and to follow His lead as you navigate the ups and downs of life. The key here is understanding that growth is not a one-time event. It's a continuous process. It's about taking one step forward, day by day, and learning to navigate life together with grace, patience, and love. It's about understanding that transformation takes time, and that sometimes the hardest moments are the ones that produce the greatest change. When you meet the one God has sent to be your spouse, remember this: your journey together is not just about love, it's about transformation. It's about becoming who God created you to be and helping each other along the way. It's about trusting that the challenges you face are an integral part of your growth, and that through it all, God is shaping you into a stronger, more faithful, and more loving couple. In the end, it's not just about finding someone to share your life with. It's about finding someone who will help you become more than you ever thought you could be. The right spouse, the one God has sent, will challenge you to grow, to evolve, and to become the person you were always meant to be. And together, you'll create a life that reflects His love, His purpose, and His glory. So embrace the journey, embrace the challenges, the growth, the transformation, because when you do, you'll find that you are not just walking with your spouse, you're walking with God. And in that walk, you'll discover a love that is deeper, richer, and more meaningful than anything you ever imagined.